is currently April the 2nd. It's about 5 minutes to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're heading to the Peak District to try and find some wallabies. The wallabies we are looking for specifically are red-necked wallabies, a marsupial that, as we know, has been spotted in England. We don't have any other native marsupials, but these little guys have been brought over the years to be housed in zoos, farms and private collections. Back in Australia, they're plentiful. They've got a steady population found all across the East Coast and Tasmania, which is where most of the UK's wallabies come from. Now, tracking these shy wallabies is tough. Some of them have been free-roaming for generations. But the University of South Wales, with a team headed by Dr Andrew Carravagi, were able to create a distribution map using thousands of spottings and social media posts. Now, from this data, and existing accounts, we know that in the UK there are at least 4 populations: Inner Cochran in Scotland, the Isle of Man, the Peak District, and the Chiltern Hills. Now, going all the way up to Scotland for this is a bit out of my remit, and getting a boat over to the Isle of Man is just a whole ordeal in itself, so we're left with 2 options really. The closest one to where I'm based in De Montfort University is the Peak District, so we headed that way. Now, I'm up here in the Peak District looking for things that did not used to belong here, and this is one of Britain's biggest areas of natural beauty, area of outstanding natural beauty, but there are some things here that are not quite natural. I've come to the site of the 1948 November crash of a B-29 bomber. It was an American plane that came down doing a routine photography expedition, just hit a cloud wrong and came down. And like a lot of the post-war eras, it's left a lasting landmark on this area. So after about 4 hours of hiking and 3 hours of driving, we returned, cap in hand, having not found any wallabies. We'd spotted plenty of interesting wildlife with some grouses and sheep and even a local rabbit, but unfortunately the wallabies continued to elude us. So we decided to reconvene, and I myself arranged a meeting with Anthony Carravagi to talk about their project and what they'd found that helped people spot these creatures in the wild.
My research generally is into either a threatened or little known species, and I became aware, mainly through Twitter actually, about the number of people who were posting pictures of wallabies and that sort of thing, and got talking with a couple of people on there about it, and my interest just grew from there. I decided to see if we could use kind of public records and where the wallabies hadn't been recaptured to basically kind of map where these sightings have occurred and figure out, at least start to get a handle on what the state of wallabies is in the UK.
Doing a quick scan on all the graphs you've made, it looks like a sort of autumn time is when the wallabies seem to be most photographed. Is that because they're more active then, do you know, or is it just...
I think it's just a function of people getting out and about.
The area I'm specifically looking at is the Peak District, the northern sort of path on it. So you're tracking this through social media. Have you found like any particular population clusters or anything that are like
only down south?
Mm-hmm.
So, like as I said earlier, the Chiltern Hills seems to be a particular hotspot. You've got records going down towards Cornwall, down that way. The Peak District population were there for 30 odd years or so, but they seem to have disappeared.
So, as someone who's going to try and track down these populations and have a look at them, have you got any major advice for me? Any recurring themes on where environments they show up at?
Wooded areas.
Wooded areas.
Not like your coniferous monocultures, because they won't be in there, but you kind of broadleaf woodlands, younger broadleaf woodlands with a nice understory. It's really just about, so they're relatively comfortable with people being nearby, according to several of the videos I've been sent. But it's still a case of being quiet, being patient, and possibly just going back day after day to a site that looks suitable,
Taking Anthony's advice to heart, we headed south towards the Chiltern Hills. So, following Anthony Carravagi's advice, for our second wallaby hunt, we've come here to the Chiltern Hills, an area of natural beauty in the sort of south centre of England, where the most current populations of wallaby are. There's not as many as used to be in the Peak District, but they're more routinely seen here. So we're going to go have a look for them.
So, wallabies, high ground, low ground, where are we looking?
So from what we've seen, and from their native environment, high ground and lowland, less of a matter. What really matters is lots of stuff on the floor for them to eat, lots of tree cover for them to hide under in the night. So, following up on that, we spotted a deer. We did see 100% a deer walking across that field right there. Unfortunately, we've come to a private sign. We know there's an animal off in the distance. We can't quite identify what it is, even with the binoculars. It looks deer size, which is about the size we're going to be looking for, but we just can't get close enough to confirm it. So, we're going to regroup, find something else. So you might be able to hear in the background a pretty routine barking noise. It goes "Rrr, rrr," over and over again. And I thought it's an animal noise I don't know, so we did some quick field research. Wallabies we're looking for, they chitter. They're a chittering animal, much like a rabbit or anything that chitters really. Just a little chip, 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 sort of a under the throat noise, not the barking. So, second location, we've gone to Stonor Park. It's a lot later now, it's about 9:30, it's getting dark, and we've seen lots of small animal activity and a bit more deer activity. We saw a muntjac and what looked like a roe deer on the drive around here, but still no wallabies. And unfortunately, it's getting a bit late, and I think we're going to have to call it. So, no signs today, but we know they're out there. They show up on social media. They've been tracked, just not out here for us. In the Chiltern Hills, and even on the way, we encountered plenty of macrofauna. We found deer, roe deer, muntjacs, all gallivanting around having fun in the fields. And we even found some interesting scat on the floor, but nothing that we could determine to be wallabies. Until, after 3 separate journeys to 2 different locations, we discovered them. Unfortunately, our grand adventure to find the native wallabies of England didn't go so well. After about 20 hours of hiking and 3 different trips, one of them I didn't record because I got nowhere close. We've had to take the conciliatory option, and we've come here to White Post Farm, where they've got a nice little captive population here who are incredibly nice. So as you can see, these are an animal you'd recognise if you saw it. They are squat to the ground. They're almost tripods with their big heavy tail and their big legs. Their little arms stacked up underneath. As you can see, they've got it's a fur coat that deals quite well with temperature. So these guys are from Eastern Australia, and while it's a lot warmer there in the daytime, by night time it cools down quite dramatically. These ones in particular are native to Tasmania. Isn't that right? They're incredibly docile animals. They're megafauna, so they don't really have any natural predators, which means that all they're really doing is scrapping with each other for territory and breeding rights. That's not to say they can't pack a punch. Like kangaroos, they've got big, strong back legs that can produce quite quick. But as you can see, these fellows, aren't really interested in that. Right, we're ready to cut there. Now, I just want to say thank you very much to Tom De Morgan at White Post Farm for letting us get up close and personal with these fellas and get some nice footage. I'd also like to give a special thank you to Dr Andrew Carravagi and Holly from the University of South Wales for getting us that interview and giving us access to all this great information. If you're looking to find some wallabies yourself, their Where's Wallaby study is available online, and it gives fun little population graphs for you to have a look through. And if to follow our advice, you want to go later into the autumn and like closer to the evening where these guys are going to be out and about.